Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to caring for your penis, the very first mistake so many men make is treating it like any other part of the body and scrubbing it down with strong soaps, body washes, and even chemical heavy products that were never meant for the most delicate skin on your body. And every time you reach for that harsh bar of soap, you are stripping away the natural oils that keep your penis soft, healthy, and protected, and you don't even realize you are weakening the very shield that guards you against irritation and infection. And the skin down there is not the same as the skin on your arms or your chest or your back. It is thinner, more sensitive, and more reactive to chemicals that burn away balance and leave you with dryness, redness, and peeling that you think is normal, but it isn't normal at all. And the truth is that those strong products that smell so fresh are actually filled with sulfates, alcohols, and artificial fragrances that create microscopic cracks on the penile skin, making it more vulnerable to bacteria and yeast. And every time you lather up with them, you are unknowingly inviting discomfort, itching, and infections that could have been avoided if you only understood that this part of your body deserves gentle care and respect. And men often brag about keeping things extra clean by scrubbing harder or using antibacterial washes. But the irony is that the penis is not dirty to begin with, it is self-cleaning to a large degree. And the moment you attack it with antibacterial chemicals, you are wiping away the good bacteria that protect you naturally, while giving room for harmful bacteria and fungi to take over. And that is why so many men secretly deal with balanitis, rashes, and constant irritation, but never connect the dots that the problem starts in their own shower routine. And some of you even go as far as using women's scented body washes or deodorant sprays on your penis, thinking it will smell good for your partner. But what you're really doing is poisoning the most sensitive tissue you have with chemicals that don't belong there, and that temporary freshness is only covering up the long-term damage being done under the surface. And I want you to imagine your partner's lips, tongue, or skin touching your penis after you've doused it in chemical fragrance, and realize that not only are you damaging yourself, but you're exposing them to residues of soap and fragrance that never should have been near the genitals in the first place. And this is why partners sometimes complain about a burning sensation after oral or sex, not because of their body, but because of the residue you left behind. And I want you to stop thinking cleanliness means harsher is better, and start realizing that cleanliness means gentle is powerful, because the penis needs nothing more than warm water and a mild fragrance-free cleanser if necessary. Nothing else. No scrubbing, no foaming, no deodorizing, no bleaching, no chemical warfare on the very organ you rely on for pleasure and intimacy. And yet men around the world still destroy their penile skin barrier every single day out of ignorance and habit, believing advertisements that sell masculinity in a bottle, when true masculinity is protecting your manhood with knowledge and respect. And imagine how insane it is that people are careful with the skin on their face, buying expensive gentle cleansers and moisturizers, yet they attack their penis with the cheapest, strongest, chemical-filled soap they can find, and then wonder why they deal with burning, dryness, cracks, and pain during sex and masturbation. And I need you to understand that harsh chemicals don't just hurt the surface, they can also affect the sensitivity of the penis over time, making nerve endings less responsive, dulling the pleasure that should be natural, and robbing you of the very intensity you crave in intimacy. And every time you strip the skin of natural oils and moisture, you are creating micro-traumas that heal with less elasticity, which means more discomfort as you age, and less performance when it truly matters. And for men who are uncircumcised, this is even more critical, because the foreskin creates a natural environment that must stay balanced, and the moment you flood it with harsh soap, you upset the pH and cause inflammation, tightness, and even painful retraction issues that could have been avoided with the simplest routine of water and gentle care. And I want you to see the penis not as a tool you can abuse, but as a living part of you that reacts to everything you put on it. And if you wouldn't pour bleach or cologne on your eyes, then why would you pour those same chemicals on skin that is just as sensitive and vulnerable? And think about this, your penis is not just a sexual organ, it is also connected to your confidence, your performance, your fertility, and your long-term health. So why would you risk any of that just for the false feeling of being extra clean, when in reality, you're destroying the natural balance that nature designed perfectly for you? And it's time to stop this cycle of damage and take responsibility, because every man deserves a penis that feels good, looks healthy, and performs at its best. And none of that comes from chemical abuse. All of that comes from gentle, consistent, respectful care. And when you finally switch to rinsing with warm water, when you finally stop scrubbing with harsh products, when you finally let your body's natural protection do its job, you will notice that your penis feels softer, more comfortable, more responsive, and ready for the intimacy you crave without the irritation that holds you back. And when your partner notices the difference, when they feel the smoothness and freshness without without the artificial scent, they will appreciate you not just as a lover but as someone who understands what real hygiene and real respect for your body looks like. And that shift alone can transform the way you approach sex, the way you approach confidence, and the way you treat the most intimate part of yourself. And the next time you reach for that harsh soap or think about spraying something down there to mask your natural smell, I want you to remember this moment and ask yourself if it's worth sacrificing long-term health for a temporary illusion of cleanliness, because your penis is too valuable, too sensitive, and too important for shortcuts and ignorance, and the time has come to treat it with the same care you would give to the most fragile and most powerful part of your body, because that is exactly what it is, and you only get one, and once you damage it there is no going back. So every choice you make in the shower is either building a future of strength, pleasure, and confidence, or destroying it one harsh wash at a time, and the decision is in your hands every single day you step under that water. Too many men treat masturbation as if it's a race to the finish line, and in that race they use too much force, too much friction, and too little awareness of the damage they are doing to the most sensitive organ they will ever have. And the truth is that your penis is not built for punishment, it is built for pleasure, and every time you grip it too tightly, stroke it too roughly, or use dry friction without any lubrication, you are slowly training it to respond unnaturally, and at the same time you are causing physical trauma that you cannot see, but you will eventually feel. And every aggressive stroke is creating micro tears under the surface of the skin, weakening elasticity, and hardening tissue in a way that reduces sensitivity over time. And what you think is just satisfying an urge quickly is actually programming your brain and your penis to need an intensity that real sex can never match. And this is why so many men today quietly struggle with porn-induced erectile dysfunction and delayed ejaculation, because they train themselves through rough, hurried masturbation to only respond to a level of friction and pressure that no partner could ever recreate. And the cycle becomes darker the longer it continues, because when real intimacy feels less stimulating, you go back to rougher masturbation to feel something again. And when you do that too often, you make it even harder to enjoy normal touch, intimacy, an orgasm with a real partner. And this is not just about pleasure but about confidence, because nothing crushes a man more than being in the moment with someone he desires, and realizing that his body refuses to cooperate the way it should. And the root of that disappointment is so often hidden in the way he has been abusing his own penis in private for years without realizing the long-term effects. And it's time to understand that rough masturbation is not harmless. It is conditioning, it is training, and it is damage that accumulates until one day you realize your erection is weaker, your sensitivity is dulled, and your ability to climax with a partner is slipping away. And men rarely talk about this because masturbation is treated as private, but silence is what keeps men locked in destructive habits that rob them of their future sexual satisfaction. And beyond the psychological training,
the physical consequences are just as serious, because repeated aggressive friction can cause inflammation, scarring, and even curvature of the penis over time. Conditions like Peyronie's disease that start with small injuries to the erectile tissue that heal with hardened plaques, and suddenly the shape of your erection changes and sexual function becomes painful and difficult, and all of it can be traced back to careless routines of constant rough handling that could have been avoided with knowledge and self-control. And I want you to imagine what happens when you are rubbing dry skin against dry skin with intensity, because the heat, the pressure, and the lack of moisture are literally burning away sensitivity and leaving behind irritation that accumulates into a permanent loss of pleasure. And every man thinks he's invincible until the day comes when his partner touches him and he barely feels anything, or he needs overwhelming intensity just to stay hard, and suddenly he realizes the damage was self-inflicted. And that is the tragedy of rough masturbation, because it robs you silently, slowly, in ways you don't notice until it is too late. And the solution is not to give up pleasure, but to change your relationship with it by treating masturbation as practice for intimacy instead of an outlet for aggression. Because when you learn to use lube, when you slow down, when you touch yourself in ways that mirror real sex instead of punishing your penis, you retrain your body and your brain to stay sensitive, responsive, and alive for the kind of intimacy you crave. And you build stamina instead of tearing it down, and you preserve nerve sensitivity instead of burning it out, and you give yourself the chance to experience deeper orgasms instead of shallow releases that leave you needing more and more to feel satisfied. And think about how many men have secretly lost sensitivity in their penis and blame aging, when the truth is it was never aging, it was the habits of rough, careless masturbation that burned out the nerves far earlier than nature ever intended. And think about how many relationships suffer because men struggle to stay hard or finish during sex, and the partners feel unloved or unwanted, when in reality, the man's body has simply been conditioned to expect abuse instead of intimacy. And I want you to realize how dangerous that cycle is, because it not only steals physical pleasure, but also emotional connection and self-esteem, and no man deserves to be robbed of that by his own hand. And the act of masturbation should be about discovery, awareness, and pleasure, not destruction, conditioning, and pain. And the next time you grab yourself out of boredom or stress, I want you to remember that the way you touch yourself is not just about today's release, but about tomorrow's performance, and every stroke you take is either building a future where you last longer, feel more, and connect deeper, or destroying it in exchange for a temporary rush that fades in minutes and leaves scars for years. And I want you to feel the weight of that choice, because it is not just physical, it is psychological, it is emotional, it is relational, and it affects your partner, your confidence, and your identity as a man, and nothing is worth sacrificing all of that for roughness and speed. And I need you to look at your penis not as something you can punish into submission, but as something you must protect, because it is your source of masculinity, your channel of intimacy, your gateway to pleasure, and your partner in every sexual experience you will ever have, and it only makes sense to treat it with the respect and gentleness it deserves. And when you finally slow down, when you finally use lubrication, when you finally train your brain and your body to enjoy the full spectrum of sensation instead of chasing intensity, you will rediscover levels of sensitivity, stamina, and satisfaction that rough masturbation stole from you, and you will see that your penis responds not just to physical touch, but to the care and awareness behind that touch, and that awareness is what separates men who thrive in intimacy from men who struggle alone in frustration. And the choice is yours every single time your hand meets your body, and the truth is this: you can either keep roughing yourself into numbness, or you can rewire yourself into a man who lasts longer, feels more, and performs with confidence. And the power to choose wisely is in your hand, not just literally but figuratively. Every time you decide how you treat your own body. Hygiene is the foundation of a healthy penis, and yet too many men either neglect it or misunderstand it, and that neglect becomes the silent destroyer of confidence, performance, and pleasure, because the penis is not just another body part you can leave unchecked, it is an environment, a delicate ecosystem of skin, moisture, and bacteria that must be cared for with precision and respect. And when you ignore hygiene, you are allowing bacteria, sweat, and dead skin cells to build up in folds and crevices that were never meant to be neglected. And this buildup creates odor, irritation, and infections that not only make you uncomfortable, but also make your partner unwilling to get close to you. And every man who ignores hygiene is sabotaging himself sexually, because no partner wants to taste, smell, or touch a penis that carries the signs of neglect. And what many men do not realize is that poor hygiene can lead to conditions like balanitis, fungal infections, and urinary tract issues that weaken erections, cause pain, and make intimacy a nightmare. And the worst part is that these problems are entirely preventable if you only take a few extra minutes in your daily routine to care for yourself properly. And I need you to understand that hygiene is not about obsession, it is about consistency. It is about knowing how to clean without overdoing it, and it is about respecting the organ that defines so much of your masculinity and your sexual energy. And men often think hygiene is just for women, that women have to care for themselves more because of their anatomy, but that ignorance is the reason so many men suffer quietly with infections, irritation, and insecurities, when in reality penis hygiene is just as important, and just as impactful on sexual health and your partner's health too. And if you are uncircumcised, hygiene becomes even more critical, because the foreskin creates a warm, moist pocket that can trap sweat, semen, and bacteria if you do not pull it back and rinse thoroughly. And ignoring that simple act allows smegma to build up, and smegma is not just unpleasant, it is a breeding ground for bacteria that irritates the skin, causes inflammation, and makes sex painful and embarrassing. And if you are circumcised, do not think you are immune, because you still sweat, you still shed skin cells, and you still collect bacteria that can cause odor, rashes, and infections if you neglect washing. And the reality is that hygiene is not just about avoiding discomfort, it is about attraction, because your cleanliness directly influences how your partner perceives you. And no matter how confident you are, no matter how skilled you are in bed, if your penis smells foul or looks unkempt, the experience will be ruined before it even begins. And hygiene is about showing respect, not only to yourself, but also to anyone who shares intimacy with you, because a clean penis tells your partner that you value them, that you care enough to prepare yourself, and that you are worthy of their trust and touch. And when you neglect hygiene, you are sending the opposite message, that you are careless, that you lack self-respect, and that you do not prioritize the intimacy you claim to desire. And it is shocking how many men will spend money on cologne, clothes, and grooming their beards, but will ignore the very organ that represents them in the most vulnerable and intimate moments. And the truth is, your penis deserves the same level of care as your face, your teeth, and your body, because it is directly tied to your confidence and your identity. And think about how you feel when you step out of the shower fresh, clean, and confident, compared to how you feel when you know you neglected yourself, because that feeling translates into your energy, your performance, and your presence with your partner. And hygiene goes beyond just washing. It includes trimming pubic hair to prevent excessive sweat and odor, wearing clean underwear daily to avoid bacteria buildup, and staying hydrated so your body naturally flushes toxins that affect your scent. And every detail matters, because the penis is part of a whole system that reflects the way you treat yourself. And ignoring hygiene is not just laziness, it is self-sabotage. And when you allow odor, sweat, and bacteria to dominate that area,
You create insecurity that follows you into the bedroom, and insecurity is the #1 killer of strong sexual performance, and many men think their partners do not notice or will ignore it, but the truth is that partners notice everything: the smell, the taste, the texture, and they might stay silent to avoid hurting your feelings, but deep down they are disappointed, and that disappointment will erode the passion you want to keep alive. And when you make hygiene a habit, when you treat your penis with the care it deserves,
you unlock not only better health, but also stronger confidence, because you know you are presenting yourself at your best, and that confidence becomes contagious in the bedroom and amplifies the experience for both you and your partner. And hygiene also plays a role in fertility, because poor hygiene can increase infections that reduce sperm health and affect your ability to create life. And that alone should be enough reason to never neglect it, because the consequences are bigger than just sex. They are about your future, your family, and your identity as a man. And I want you to understand that good hygiene is simple. It is not complicated. It does not require expensive products or complicated routines. It only requires awareness, water, consistency, and care. And ignoring it is like throwing away the easiest way to elevate your sexual life and protect your health and your happiness. And I want you to imagine walking into the bedroom knowing that you are clean, fresh, and ready, versus walking in unsure, hoping your partner won't notice the odor or the buildup, because that uncertainty kills arousal and kills confidence, and nothing is more powerful than the assurance that you are presenting your best self, and hygiene is the simplest, most direct path to that assurance. And every time you skip it, every time you neglect it, you are not saving time, you are stealing from yourself, stealing pleasure, stealing respect, stealing opportunities for intimacy and connection that could have been unforgettable if only you respected your body enough to prepare it. And the truth is this: hygiene is not just about cleanliness, it is about power, attraction, confidence, and respect. And when you ignore it, you give all of that away, and when you prioritize it, you gain all of it back. Too many men take risks with their penis because they think protection is optional. They think skipping a condom makes them feel more, makes them closer to their partner, makes them stronger in the moment, but what they don't realize is that skipping protection is the fastest way to destroy not only their health, but their future. And every single time you enter someone without protection, you are gambling with infections, diseases, and consequences that don't just vanish after the night is over, because the truth is your penis is not invincible, it is vulnerable, and it can only stay strong if you make the choice to guard it with protection. And every man who has ever regretted unprotected sex will tell you that the few minutes of pleasure were never worth the weeks, months, or even years of dealing with the aftermath. And the reality is that sexually transmitted infections are not rare, they are everywhere. And thinking you are immune or that your partner looks clean is one of the most dangerous lies men tell themselves, because viruses and bacteria do not announce themselves with a warning. They hide, they wait, and they attack when you least expect it. And diseases like chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis are not just uncomfortable, they can cause long-term damage to your penis, your fertility, and your overall health if left untreated. And viruses like herpes and HIV do not just go away, they stay with you for life, reshaping your identity, your relationships, and the way you see yourself. And all of that can come from one careless decision to skip protection in the heat of the moment. And I want you to imagine being in the most intimate, vulnerable experience with someone, and then weeks later feeling burning, pain, discharge, or sores, and realizing that what felt good for a few minutes is now haunting you for months or years. And that is the reality too many men face because they thought protection was optional. And even if you escape infections, skipping protection exposes you to unplanned pregnancy, a responsibility that can change the course of your entire life in one night. And suddenly you realize that the choice you made in seconds has consequences that last decades. And I need you to see that condoms are not barriers to pleasure, they are gateways to freedom, because they allow you to enjoy sex without carrying fear, without carrying risk, and without wondering what will happen tomorrow or next week or next year. And every man who says condoms don't feel good has not learned that the real pleasure comes from peace of mind, from knowing that your health is safe, your partner's health is safe, and your future is safe. And if you think skipping protection makes you a man, you are wrong, because real men do not risk their future or their partner's future for a moment of recklessness. Real men protect what they value, and nothing is more valuable than your health and your ability to share intimacy without fear. And I want you to imagine walking into the bedroom with the confidence of knowing you are prepared, versus walking in with the silent anxiety of hoping everything will be okay, because that anxiety eats away at your erection, eats away at your performance, and robs you of the very pleasure you thought you would gain by skipping protection. And the truth is, no partner will ever respect you more for putting them at risk, but every partner will respect you more for caring about their safety and showing them that you value their body as much as your own. And protection is not just a physical shield, it is an emotional one. It tells your partner that you are responsible, that you are aware, that you are someone who can be trusted with intimacy, and that trust becomes the foundation for deeper connection, better sex, and stronger confidence. And I want you to realize that every time you choose to use protection, you are choosing to honor your body, you are choosing to honor your partner,
and you are choosing to honor your future, and when you make that choice enough times, it becomes part of your identity as a man who respects himself, and respects those he touches, and nothing is more attractive than a man who takes responsibility for his body and his actions, because that is what true masculinity is, and I need you to stop thinking that condoms ruin sex, because what ruins sex is pain, disease, infections, anxiety, and regret, not a thin layer of latex, and what ruins sex is the shame of telling your partner you have an STI, because you didn't use protection when you should have, not the brief moment it takes to put on a condom, and if you want to last longer, if you want to control your climax, if you want to perform better, condoms can even be your ally, helping you pace yourself, helping you enjoy more without losing control too soon, and the men who learn to use protection with pride are the men who enjoy the longest, healthiest, most satisfying sexual lives, because they are not constantly fighting problems, treating infections, or carrying fear. They are living free, bold, and confident, and the truth is this: unprotected sex is not a thrill, it is a trap, and it is a trap that steals your freedom, your pleasure, and your health, and nothing is worth losing all of that for a few minutes of raw sensation that fades almost as soon as it arrives. And the next time you feel tempted to skip protection, I want you to stop and imagine the doctor's office, the test results, the phone call you have to make to a partner, the burning, the itching, the regret, the pills, the injections, the shame, and then I want you to imagine instead the peace of mind that comes with responsibility, the confidence that comes with respect, and the pleasure that comes when you know you are free of fear, because that contrast is the reality of your choice, and the decision is in your hands every single time you are about to enter someone. You either choose to risk everything, or protect everything, and your future depends on which path you take,